Hey kawan, welcome to EDC Ready. Today we are doing a full review of this guy. This is the Ferrum Forge Stinger in OD Green. Okay, so if you guys want to know where I bought this from thomastools.com.my. You can check them out. I have an affiliate link in the description box down below. So before we get into it, let's take some key measurements. I have my weighing scale right here. So this guy is coming in at 73 grams, which is about 2.5 ounces. And let's talk about another dimension. Let's talk about the size of it. We are going to switch to inches because that is what everyone is used to. We are coming in at about what we have here. Yeah, coming at about 3.2 inches. Am I getting this right? Yeah, so we are getting about 3.2 inches on the blade length here. There we go. Yeah, we're getting about 3.2 inches on the blade length right here. As for the blade thickness, we should have a nice and slim 0.12 inches. Okay, let's talk about the handle length. We are coming in at about 4.14 inches. And we have a handle thickness of a very slim, there we go. We have a handle thickness of a very slim 0.39 inches. And then we have a width of just over there you go. At about 1.12 inches. So a very slim knife, very small knife, but a very lightweight knife. Now we are coming at about 2.5 inches for about 3.2 inches of, 3.5 ounces for 3.2 inches of blade. Couple of things you need to know. It's made by Ferrum Forge. No, it is sold by Ferrum Forge, designed by Ferrum Forge, and it is manufactured by We Knives, or in this case Civivi Knives. And I'm going to talk about why it feels a lot like a Civivi knife in a little bit later on. So let's go on with a full review from tip to butt. Okay, so let's talk about the blade right here. The blade material is called Nitro-V. Nitro-V is not a very common blade material for folding knives. The only things I know about it is that it is pretty high in terms of corrosion resistance, just as high as something like S30V, but not as high as something like this guy LC200N, although some reports suggest that it has higher corrosion resistance than S30V. I've never rusted this yet, so I wouldn't know. In terms of its edge retention, if you check out Cedric and Ada, I think, or maybe another test video, we're getting around close enough to S30V in terms of its hardness or ability to resist wear when you slice it. It doesn't seem to be a very hard use blade, meaning it doesn't seem to be very tough, so just keep that in mind, especially when you get a thin blade. This is definitely more of a great everyday carry slicer kind of steel. Now, the finish of the knife, they call it it feels like a bead blasted blade, but it's actually, if you look very closely, it's actually a Stonewash, a very light Stonewash. You can kind of see like the creases of the Stonewash in the blade itself. Yeah, if you guys can see that. So it's a very light Stonewash. I don't know why they did this. It kind of doesn't have any kind of reflectivity to the blade. I wish they would have gone for a slightly lighter Stonewash. But you know, it is what it is. Stonewash can be problematic for steels like D2 because you have more surface area for it to rest compared to like a satin finish. But since Nitro-V is quite a stain resistant steel, I don't have much concern about it. The blade shape itself is very nice. You don't really have that much flat, maybe just a little bit down here, but you have a lot of belly that kind of goes from here all the way to the tip of the blade, meaning you're going to get very good kind of rocking slices that you need to do. It has kind of a neutral drop point, meaning that it is not as high as that guy right here, so it doesn't have as much of a belly, nor is it as flat as something that is more sheep's footy or Warncliffey. So if you kind of not like either a drop point, or you kind of want the best of both worlds between a drop point and a Warncliffe style blade, this is going to be that nice in-between zone for you. So it's going to have decent rocking ability, it's going to have decent pull cutability, but just keep in mind that you're not getting the best of both worlds. You're not getting the best of both worlds, but you're not getting the worst of both worlds either. Overall, a nice neutral blade shape for you to use for everyday carry. Another thing I really like on the top of the crown, on the top of the blade here, we have some nice chamfering from the base of the blade all the way almost up to the tip of the blade, about 75% of the way. You have some nice chamfering that makes it very comfortable up top. You have some nice jimping as well. You're definitely going to get some good grip. It is not going to be as sharp as, like, say, a spider coil grip. This tends to be, the jimping tends to be a little bit more grippy, and it is not as soft as this guy, which, you know, is not really going to give you much traction whatsoever. This is a nice in between where you're still gonna get really good grip, but it's not gonna feel like it's digging into your fingers, which is very, very nice. Now, one thing that will dig into your fingers is this little fuller right here. Now, the purpose why they had this is so that you can open it with your thumb, and then you can even flick it out. Oops, you can even flick it out. You can even flick it out like that. However, the inside of this fuller is pretty sharp. This 90-degree turn into the blade right here, it's pretty sharp, and I know why they had it sharp, so that you can get a good grip, but it just seems like a little bit over sharp, and because of this fuller, it's not that easy to get your finger into that little hole right there for you to flick it out. I actually kind of wish that this bottom part here would actually be flat and consistent to the blade, so you just have this little lip at the top there. I think that would just give my fingers a little bit more space to get in there and flick it out more consistently. There we go, flick it out more consistently. Another thing I really like about this blade is that you have a nice big finger choil. I'm a big fan of finger choils. This guy has it. This guy has it. My Spyderco Para 3 lightweight has it. I just really like it because you can get it very close to the tip of the blade, and you have a lot of control of the base of the blade and the heel of the blade right here for any kind of like push cuts you need to use through the body of the blade itself. And one thing that's very nice is that you actually have a chamfered edge over here. So although it can be a little bit sharper on this end where you're kind of gripping into it, it's actually nice and chamfered. So you get a nice amount of ergonomic comfort once you get there, once you place your finger into there. Okay, let's move back a little bit. I really like the fit and finish of this blade, of the handles. As you can see, the screws here are completely flat. It's a completely flat surface, and it's the same on the screws on this side. However, on this side, it sticks out a little bit, which I think is a good thing, because when you want to get your Torx bit into there, when you want to get your Torx bit into here, you're going to have a little bit extra height for the Torx bit to bite into the screw, which is very nice. I really appreciate that. This little logo right here, very, very nice. That's something that you see in something that Civivi does as well. They like to put their logo in the opposite side of the pivot, which, by the way, the pivot is non-free spinning because it's a triangle and a triangular hole, and then it won't spin. So only this side will spin. Very, very nice. Very easy to disassemble that pivot. Now, moving back a little bit, I already mentioned the flush fit screws, and the flush fit screws go all the way to the pocket clip. One of the best features of this knife is the pocket clip is completely recessed into the scales, and then the screw is also really recessed into the scales, which means that you can go into your pocket and it can go in all the way, it can go all the way deep, and there's no obstructions. One thing I do not like about this pocket clip is that my favorite kind of pocket clips are the kind of clips where it kind of dips down, it dips up, then it flattens out a little bit. This just gives it more leverage for it to pull. Okay, you can see that in my ZT clip right here as well. Okay, but this guy is a relatively stiff clip, and then it goes up. Okay, so you have the little dip, you have the fact that it dips down, but then it comes back up, but it kind of pokes upwards, and it doesn't have that flat portion that goes upwards. And the problem is that sometimes it can get a little bit difficult when you want to get your finger into it to lift it up to push it into your pants. However, I felt worse clips like the no, that's not a good example. I felt worse clips. I thought it would be a lot worse, but once I started using it every day, I don't know if it's because maybe the clip loosened up or became not as tight as when I first got it, or once you get it into your pants, it's a lot easier for you to pinch it down and grab it up. But it was not a problem. I thought it was going to be more of a problem when I did the first impressions. Thankfully, it is not. Now let's go to the rest of the handle. We have here a liner lock. It's a nice liner lock with a 50% lockup. Very good, very consistent liner lock. The detent is very nice. You have a very good action, and it fires out without assistance whatsoever. You know, it was a little bit gritty out of the box, but after using this guy for like a month, it has smoothened up to something that's very manageable, and something I really appreciate. Now, one thing I do not like about the lockup is that it has a very pingy sound. It has a slight ting. Just listen to it. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear that, but there's a slight ting. Yeah, compared to a frame lock, which has a nice thud, because the lockup face, the lockup side is a thicker piece of metal, but even compared to my 10-gram Santa Fe, which is my other liner lock, it has a nice katok sound to it. It's a much deeper sounding katok. Whereas this guy has that ping to it, which is kind of reminiscent of my Civivi McKenna. I've had a few Civivis and they kind of have this kind of same pingy sound to it. There we go. Something I kind of had to get over. I don't quite like the high frequency sound of it, but I guess it's a sign that my ears are still young, which is very good. Another thing that makes it feel like a Civivi knife is these liners right here. So these liners are, I believe they are bead blasted. Yeah, let's just call them bead blasted. It definitely has a much more of a matte finish, which I really like. It's not that slippery, but it's not shiny either. So I just really like it. It kind of matches the light stonewash of the blade itself. Now, one thing that made me kind of nervous are boxed liners. I've had knives that had boxed liners, meaning the liners are a little bit proud of the scales. My QSP something had boxed liners. It was not very comfortable. But this guy, because of the chamfering here, and because the liners are not that proud, it kind of molds in nicely. So it kind of feels like it's one piece instead of two separate pieces. So ergonomically, very well done. Ferrum Forge is kind of known for the ergonomics of their design, and it really shows here. Ferrum Forge really showcases how well they know how to design knives and showcase how they've been designing knives for a really long time, because you have very nice fit and finish. The ergonomics are very nice, down to how the liners mold into the scale. And then you have all these nice chamfering edges right here. So even though you have jimping, it's not really that sharp because you have nice rounding off on the sides. Now flipper tap, very minimal compared to another flipper. Okay, you can see that this guy, a little bit smaller than this guy, but it has a good amount of jimping, which I really love. And then it can really help with the fire of this to overcome the detent. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Detent is very nice. It has a nice feel, nice amount of pressure that's needed to fire it out. Although not as hard as other detents, this is a kind of good in between really hard and really soft. So I mean, it's just well tuned in my opinion. Very nice. Couple that with the fact that I thought this is going to be a little bit sharper out of the box, but now that I've been using it for a couple of days, it's pretty nice. I think I just needed to get used to it. Now, the liners on the inside, you can see here, I don't know if you can, but you do have some skeletonization, quite a lot of skeletonization in the liners itself. You can check out my disassembly of this knife on my channel to get a better look at that. Speaking of disassembly, not the best knife when it comes to disassembly compared to, let's say, this guy and this guy, for a couple of reasons, and I'm really nitpicking at this point. You have a T8 screw here, which is nice. Then you have T6 here, T6 here, and you have to actually remove the pocket clip to be able to remove that screw. And as a result of that, once you take that off, you actually have another pair of T6 inside here and inside here. So this is just a lot more screws than what I'm used to from Civivi. Because Civivi, let's say a lot of the Civivis, like the Civivi McKenna, you only need two screws. Okay, you need to take out the pivot screw, and then there's just one screw that holds together the frame, the liners, and the back spacer with the other side. So I was wondering why they didn't do it on this guy. That would make not only this guy more attractive, I feel, because there are only two screws instead of three on the same side, and then it also make this assembly a little bit more straightforward. And it would be better if it was T8 and T8. I feel like just to have one screw that goes through here and then screws into the liners on the other side is just a lot better. Or you can even have a screw that goes in here that screws into the middle of the back spacer, and another screw that goes in here and then it matches the screw on the other end in terms of placement, and both of them screw into the back spacer. I just feel like that's a much better way to do it, like they did in the Civivi McKenna and a lot of Civivis ever since. So this assembly, not bad, but I just feel like that's just something that they can improve on a little bit more. I'm really nitpicking it because I really like this knife. The back spacer, very nice. It does give a little bit of a grip when you want to flip it out. You're pushing this into the palm of your hand, so that just provides a nice amount of extra grip for me to flick it out. Okay, so yeah, that is about it. In conclusion, what I feel about this knife, really like it. I actually bought this knife with the intention of replacing this guy, okay, because of a couple of reasons. This guy has a free spinning pivot. It's not as good of a slicer. the screws go straight into the titanium, so you gotta be aware of that. It doesn't have a deep carry pocket clip. And I feel like if I have another frame lock that I want to buy, I would sell this guy and just keep this guy. As a flipper, this guy does really well. It has a great action, fires out. It has a very nice fidget factor. It is not well designed for the flick. As you can see how I failed to flick it a few times. So I really just think of this as a flipper knife at this point. D10 is really well tuned, fit and finish, very nice. You have nice flush screws, clip. It has an amazing carry in the pocket. It goes in, it kind of canters it off to the side a little bit. Very slim, very thin in the pocket, very easy to carry and very easy to use. I remember my mother-in-law used this to cut up some carpet grass, and she was amazed by how sharp this guy is. So this guy did go through some gardening use as well. Okay guys, so would I recommend? I would say I would recommend this knife to almost anybody. It has good performance, very slicey. The only reason why I would not recommend this is if you're a kind of guy who doesn't like a flipper, if you prefer a thumb stud, or non-locking blade, then I wouldn't recommend this to anyone. However, for most of the people out there, if they want a good everyday carry knife, I would definitely recommend this as one of the options, and they come in different colors as well. I just like OD green. Okay, thanks guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, stay ready.